B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East coast to the west, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
We are back with another roundtable. I got the Barry White voice because I got a cold, but I pounded some cold medicine. We're going to push through. Top 10 hip hop soundtracks. With me, I got Surreal the MC, Riplak, and Raven Hunter. You know by now, guys, how this goes. So I'll start it off. In 1995, hip hop finally got a horror movie, and that's his soundtrack, Tales from the Hood. It was a perfect soundtrack for the movie, had a good vibe. Some of my favorite tracks on it was Spice One, Born to Die. Domino did the title track, Tales from the Hood. South Central Cartel or Havoc and Prodigy. Hood Got Me Feeling the Pain. MC8's got One Less Brother. Clicks on there, Hot Ones, Echo Through the Ghetto. I thought it was cool that hip hop finally, we had gotten other types of movies up to that point, but there never really was a hip hop horror movie. And Tales from the Hood was actually a good movie in my opinion. The soundtrack was dope.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list later as well. That's a great one.
Yeah, it's got some bangers on it. All right, Surreal, what do you got at number 10?
Number 10, Mi Vida Loca. One of the first times we saw Cycle Realm in that Hey DJ redo by Lighter Shade of Browns on it. Tribe Called Quest is on it. A lot of LA groups. Remember, I think I got it from Columbia House. I didn't get it when it first came out, but I saw the movie when it first came out, and it's got a lot of bangers. It's one of those a lot of people don't remember, but either Cypress or is some of the Soul Assassins, but Muggs and them were involved in it. Yeah. Right.
I wouldn't have guessed that one would have came up.
I think it's Funk Dubious. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Funk Dubious and Cycle Realm are on it. So.
All right, Riplak, what you got at number 10?
I got the hookup.
Oh yeah.
Master P.
I mean, that was just a fun one, man. I mean, those guys were just going crazy at that time. I mean, I'm not talking about like they're lyrical or geniuses or anything, but they were having fun, man. And that movie and that soundtrack, it was so hype,
Yeah, that was at their height, No Limits height, where they're putting out shit every week and making those hood type movies. Although I got the hookup was more high quality movie than like the I'm About It, if I remember correctly, right?
And it came with the green CD case, like Ghetto D had the orange one. I think Hookup had the green.
Did it?
If I remember right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
They had so many cool cases. Like you said, I remember Ghetto Dope was the orange. I can picture it in my head, right? Raven, what you got at 10?
Rhyme and Reason.
That's a good one.
It's a documentary about hip hop, but it still counts. It went to theaters. 1997, you had Mac 10 and Dog Pound, Busta Rhymes with Trap Called Quest, Ape on Jim, Jay-Z had a track, Razzcast had Helter Skelter and Cannabis in the song, Crucial Conflict, D40, RZA, MCI, Lost Boys, KRS One, and of course Master P had a track on there. I think Heaven for a Gangster maybe from Master P was on there. That's just a great soundtrack.
I didn't even think of that. That was a dope soundtrack. And that one never even entered my mind. That's a good one. I'm glad it got brought up. That was a dope documentary too, if I remember correctly.
Definitely. Yeah, it had a lot of cool shit that you hadn't really seen.
All right, we're gonna go to 9. I'm going to 1994. Death Row Records is at their height. They put out a lot of classic soundtracks, but I only got one of them on my list. Murder Was the Case that they gave me. Out of Above the Rim, dope soundtrack. Gang Related, dope soundtrack. There's a couple more, but my favorite is this, because even though some of the dope songs on here, like DJ Quick's Dollars and Cents is on his album, you get the Dre and Cube song Natural Born Killers, and the remix for Murder Was the Case. Those two alone gets it on this list for me. But a hidden gem to me was the Sam Snead song You Better Recognize. I love that joint.
Oh yeah,
definitely. I loved that song. And Dog Pound had What Would You Do on there.
Killer song.
If we would have ever got that Dre and Cube Helter Skelter album,
it would have been over.
It would have been, man. If I ever win the lottery, I'm paying him a couple million to make that album.
It was hard for me to keep that one off my list, man. because that was such a good, that whole project all around was all good.
And I love the remix to Murder Was a Case. I think it's, 5 times better than the original. And I like the original. All right, Surreal, what you got at 9?
9, I got Colors. Ice-T, Eric B. and Rakim, Muggs again, 783, his group from out east is one of their first times on wax. Actually bought it on CD and it came in the long box. Remember when CDs had the long box? I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Salt and Pepper's on there too.
Yep,
Colors.
they are. Yeah, if you peep, I got Colors right about there. The vinyl sitting back there.
Dope.
It's a top 3 favorite Ice-T song of all time, Colors. That's a good one. And it's crazy it's not on my list, but it just missed out. Riplak, what do you got at number 9?
I have Office Space because it's flooded with Ghetto Boy songs, and
I never heard that soundtrack.
they use.
I can't believe I forgot that one.
Yeah, they put that in there so good on the movie.
I know that was a popular movie, but I never even saw that movie.
I believe it has cannabis on it.
Really? I never would have thought that would have been a hip hop soundtrack.
There's a lot of Ghetto Boys on there.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm gonna have to look into it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, Mike Judge is a huge Scarface and Ghetto Boys fan. In fact, Scarface had a little cameo in one of his movies, the one where they water with Gatorade. What's that called? Stupidity or something? You know what I'm talking about? It's Mike Judge, the guy who did Office Space. He had another movie.
Was it Idiocracy?
Yeah. Scarface.
Yeah.
All right, Raven, what you got at number 9?
Trespass. Ice Cube and Ice-T, and then you got Disciples of Hell was a dope ass song. Gangstar, AMG, WC and the Mad Circle. A lot of dope people in the Trespass. That movie was kind of awesome too. So
That
I like
movie.
that Sir Mix-a-Lot song on there.
I checked my bank.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's a great one and a hidden gem of a movie. That's actually, it had Bill Paxton, who ended up being a big movie star, just a few years later with shit like Titanic and Twister and whatnot. And it's got Ice-T, so of course it's going to be dope, right?
No, gotta be. That's why SVU's lasted so long,
And that top 3 Dub C song, Quick Way Out,
yeah.
him and Coolio was in the Mad Circle at the time. Such great storytelling. Yep, that's a classic. It will pop up again on my list. Right now I'm going to 8. 1991, Infamous. If people call them hood movies, but Boys in the Hood, right? So not only infamous movie, we just did the Ice Cube show. I had How to Survive in South Central on my list. I love that, storytelling of Cube. So of course that's my favorite, but Cam Every Single Weekend is a top 5 Cam song to me.
Yeah.
Too Short, It's Your Life is a top 10 Too Short song for me. Yeah, Compton's Most Wanted, Growing Up in the Hood, that's a classic track. And I always really like the Yo-Yo song, Mama Don't Take No Mess, about her mama don't play around. That was a slick little song. But Cube kills it. Actually, I think that might have been the first time we heard Cam was on this soundtrack. Because
Might be.
it was either on that or Death Certificate. They came out the same year. I don't know the month they were released, but Cam was brand new, and I love that song Every Single Weekend.
Was it Colorblind? He was on Death Certificate?
Yeah, he was on Colorblind with like King T and Dub C.
Yeah, those were about the same time.
It was the same year. I know they're both 91.
Yeah, because the Cube song on the soundtrack on the re-release of Death Certificate is a bonus track, I believe.
Oh, is it? The How to Survive in
Not
South
the
Central?
new one, not the new one with the Uncle Sam Target. They remastered it and re-released it, but there was one in the middle.
All right, Surreal. What you got at number 8?
Number 8, Crush Groove, Fat Boys, Run DMC, Beasties. I don't think the Beasties song, it's in the movie. It's some of the other songs too are in the movie, but not on the actual soundtrack. And this is one that was pushed more on vinyl because it was before CDs really took off. But it had a lot of the Rush management and the Def Jam camp involved in it.
So glad that got brought up. That was on my honorable mention just for the significance of it. Dope soundtrack, dope movie. Good job, Surreal. You got my seal of approval. Riplak, what you got at 8?
I got Training Day.
Is that the one where Nelly has a song where he just says
Yeah, number
KRS One? Yeah.
Yeah, and the Locks and Cypress Hill, Cocaine, Dre, Gangstar. There's a bunch of. I mean, that's another one too. It's like it just, I love the movie so much, so I don't know. It's hard to pick just quality of songs when they score the movie so well,
All right, Raven, what you got at number 8?
Number 8, I also have Boys in the Hood. Just for Ice Cube, Yo, Compton Most Wanted, 2 Live Crew. There was a lot of dope shit on that soundtrack.
And that 2 Live Crew song wasn't even a typical, every once in a while, 2 Live Crew will do a non-sexual song, and I always like that version of 2 Live Crew. Of course, I love the sex songs too, but on New Jack City soundtrack too, they had a more, it
gangster
sexual
type track.
Right. Yeah, I kind of like that version. A lot of people don't know this, but Brother Marquise and Fresh Kid Ice were from LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they're from LA, both of them. And then Luke heard them and brought them down to Miami and formed 2 Live Crew. So there's your little hip hop history lesson.
I actually opened for them minus Luke once in Omaha. They came through.
Nice.
Yeah.
That
was the first time I really paid attention to
his arm.
Yeah, his arm. And rest in peace.
Right.
But yeah, they were pretty dope. I mean, they were just, everybody sings along to all the words, and it was a good time.
Right. I can remember when I was in high school, that's when I found out about his arm. So every video after that I watched, I was always looking to see if it's always hidden or underneath the jacket or, off camera. And I think it was a car accident that did that. Do you remember exactly?
Oh, that sounds right.
Because he was in the Army. I think it happened when he was in the Army. He had a car accident and nerve damage to his arm. He couldn't really move it. All right, we're to number 7. And this one I don't think anyone will have, but every time I think that, Raven comes and does it because we think alike. So 1996, the movie wasn't that good, but the soundtrack, dope. Original Gangsters. Y'all remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do.
We got Spice One, Slugs. MC Ren, Who Wants to Be a Villain? Dope. 3 Times Crazy, Flowmatic, Ghetto Boys, World is a Ghetto. Junior Mafia, White Chalk Part 2, The Loonies, EXO. And even the Ice-T song is like my least favorite Ice-T song in the world. So that's I skipped that one. But that soundtrack was just loaded. And most of them, with the exception like the Ghetto Boys one and that Ice-T one was on his album too. Their original songs. I don't think that Spice One or that Ran or any of those other ones are on other projects. Spice One kills that Slug song. So forgettable movie, dope soundtrack. Surreal, what you got at 7?
Number 7, this might be cheating, but I put Do the Right Thing, mostly because of Public Enemy. It's one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time. Most of the soundtrack is Take 6 and R&B and gospel and stuff, but I mean, just the importance of the movie, the hip hop culture, and the Public Enemy song I have to put on the list.
Hey, if it's got to fight the power, it counts to me. All right, 7. Riplak, what you got?
Yeah, I feel like this one's kind of cheating.
Damn, you cheated.
Tupac Resurrection, but I did have this soundtrack and I listened to it all the time. Again, it's kind of cheating because they put the music together as the story was told, but Straight Ballin', Bury Me a G, amazing. Ghost was cool. There's a bunch of, they did some remixes were good. Obviously, I said it on another one about Loyal to the Game being my favorite post Tupac.
All right, Raven, what you got at 7? Original Gangsters?
No, that's actually later. It is on my list actually, but Called Up. It was a movie that came out in 97 with Bakeem Woodbine.
It had a red and black cover.
Yeah, with his face in a circle. Yeah.
Yep.
It had Snoop and Corrupt, Gangstar, Mac 10. We had Do or Die with Danny Boy and Johnny P, Lost Boys, Loonies with the Dog Pound, Jizza Inspector Deck, Killer Priest, KRS-One, AZ. So many people on that. MC Light, Crooked I think was on there too. And it's really good late 90s, hip hop. And it was just the movie actually was pretty good too. I remember enjoying it.
Which brings us to 6. Before I made my list, in my head, I thought this one would be number 1, and that shows you how tough these lists are. But 1995, similar to Rhyme and Reason, we got The Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so many classics. And a top 5 Tupac all-time song to me is My Block off this. I don't know why. There's something about that song I just love. But you had Onyx Live. You have the super dope Posse track by South Central Cartel, So What You Say, it's got Spice One, MC8, Tretch from Naughty by Nature, Jail Felony, Shakilla. I always thought the Jail Felony, Zoom Zooms and Wham Wham was a fun song. And of course, Method Man, Redman for the first time, How High. I mean, it doesn't get more classic than that. So The Show, I also liked about The Show was the skits in between. Like I know there's one with Dre where he's saying this is entertainment, you know, and just
Biggie
really
had one on there. And
yeah, Biggie had one, Slick Rick, I think, and it just was a celebration of the hip hop culture in the mid 90s. So the movie was dope and the soundtrack was dope, and I couldn't believe it got bumped down to 6, but there it is.
yeah, that soundtrack's much later on my list. But
I
I
thought
actually
it-
I got to see that show live in '96. It actually came through my hometown in Maryland. And Redman had his chain ripped off and he's like, I'm never coming back to Maryland. Fuck everybody here. Like, yeah, it was a fun night.
Surreal, what you got at 6?
Number 6, I got Fresh. It's a movie about the little boy who plays chess. The soundtrack is half Jizza and Wu-Tang collaborations, and the other half is like Cold Crush Brothers in old school joints. It's kind of a rarity in that aspect. I remember it didn't really have any, like, there was Yo MTV Raps had one of the songs as a single. I don't even remember which one, but it was just kind of a rarity and it was kind of a hidden gem. I doubt anybody else has this on their list, but that South Central movie soundtrack was kind of the same way, where it had new and old stuff on there. And
that one got pushed off my list, but it originally was going to be.
Yeah, that's a good soundtrack.
Both those have like hidden gems. They're just like, you can throw them in and listen all the way through.
Right. And an underrated movie. You know, people kind of forgot about that movie. It was a good movie.
I forgot all about that movie. I'm not going to lie. And the soundtrack.
Right.
You know, I got to rewatch that.
All right, Riplak, what you got at 6?
At 6,
yes,
I have 8 Mile. I'm not like this huge Eminem fan or anything, but it's pretty loaded.
Well, look, everyone on this panel is an MC. So the Lose Yourself song, you can apply it to anything in life, but all MCs trying to come up know that feeling, the picture he paints. That's probably my favorite Eminem song just because it's so relatable to what it's like, you know, trying to make it in, you know, underground hip hop.
I mean, yeah, it has Rakim on it. It has the You Want to Be Me song by Nas.
And I
Now
think
that Eminem song is just like still today. It was what he did at the fucking Super Bowl. Like that song's bigger than Eminem. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so powerful. And I think 8 Mile was the first time we heard 50 after M signed him.
Actually, I didn't like Eminem. My friend was like obsessed with him, and I didn't like listening to him at all. And he's like, let's go to this 8 Mile movie. And we all went, and like, I got goosebumps. And I was like, he's like, come to this concert in St. Louis, Eminem concert. And it was his height. Like, I mean, he's still huge, but it was like crazy. It was when, because that's the rap games on there by D12, and I remember them coming out. And,
oh yeah,
like all of D12, and like it was crazy after that because like then I listened to Cleaning Out My Closet, and then I just kind of started listening to him a little bit, you know.
All right, we are still at 6. What you got, Raven?
Murder Was the Case. Snoop Dogg, that song alone made that soundtrack worth it. But I love the song from Dog Pound and just the whole. It's not all hip hop, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of soundtracks that's not going to have R&B and shit for the slower points. But yeah, that made number 6 for me for Murder Was the Case remix alone.
I had the Christmas vinyl, and it had a record A was green and record B was red, but it's kind of clear, so you could see like your slip mat. That was kind of revolutionary back then. Now it's not that big of a deal with the Serato plates and everything, but but I remember that.
All right, we're gonna go to 5. We're in the middle here. 1992, the first time the world. No, that's a lie. He made a cameo in another movie before this, but the first time he starred in a movie. Tupac and Juice. But Tupac isn't even on this soundtrack, which I always felt was kind of weird, right? But top 5 a Rakim song of all time, Juice, to Know the Ledge. He destroys that like only Rakim can. Big Daddy Kane, Enough Respect is probably a top 10 or 15 Big Daddy Kane song of all time. He destroys that. You got the super dope Uptown Anthem by Naughty. Too Short, So You Want to Be a Gangster. EPMD, It's Going Down. And the hidden gem on this one is the Juvenile Committee Flip Side. Now, they didn't do much before or after that Juvenile Committee, but they killed this song for real. Go back and check it out. Hunter Riplak, what you got at 5?
I have Menace to Society.
Yes.
I mean, it's loaded with West Coast, you know, and that's my shit. I love West Coast music. Of course, UGK. Sparks won a couple times. MC8, DJ Quick, all kinds of like Ant Banks.
Lynch Mob was on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gorillas Ain't Gangsters.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Ant Banks was my shit as a kid. Like that's the first person I got into when I was really
Yeah. MC
He's so
Pooh, all those
underrated.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, Pooh Man and the whole Dangerous Crew.
That whole Dangerous music crew is dope.
All right, 5. What you got, Raven?
Original Gangsters. And you pretty much covered why. You know, Ren alone, I love that song with Ren and shit. Like,
That's a top
such
10
hard
Ren song to me. Yep. Top 10
Definitely.
Ren
Probably
song.
top 5 for me. Like, I love that song. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. But, you know, there was a great mix of really good old school artists on that soundtrack. The movie sucked.
It sucked.
And I wanted to leave it off because of the movie. But, we weren't rating the movie. So,
all I remember is it takes place in Gary, Indiana, and it wasn't very good. That's what I remember from the movie. So the final 4 were battling for all the spaces. They all moved, right? And then I finally found a reason why number 4 shouldn't be 1, 2, and 3. But number 4, 1995's Friday. Ice Cube title track, Friday. Dre, Keep Their Heads Ringing. I could stop there and it deserves a top 10. EA Skis, Blast If I Have To. Such a dope song. The licks are on there, Coast to Coast. Funk Dubious, Super Hose. Two Lives Cruise, Hoochie Mama is a fun song. Such a dope soundtrack. It finally got bumped down to 4 because the like funk or, you know, there's 4 or 5 like funk or soul songs. So I figured that makes it get kicked down a little bit. But the hip hop songs on there, all original, I believe. Not on any other, you know, studio released album. And I mean, they're pretty much all super dope. And Cube's Friday, you know, we talked about it in the Cube episode. A lot of people had that on their top 10 list. Great song. So Friday, what do you got, Surreal?
Well, when backtrack a little bit, when you said Gary, Indiana, I was thinking this isn't on my list, but Belly takes place part in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm at. Just throwing that there, but I didn't even consider that because that's DMX and Nas got some bangers. But where are we at? Number 4, Straight Outta Compton, and that might be cheating, but I mean,
it was a movie. That ain't cheating.
The movie and the soundtrack's all off stuff from Easy Does It and Straight Outta Compton, the 100 Miles of Running and everything. But it's still, I mean, the compilation is pretty fire.
I that was a hard one to keep off my list too, but man, like. But the reason I did is because I can listen to like any NWA anything and feel the same. So I don't know.
Yeah, probably the best hip hop biopic in my opinion that's ever been made. All right, we are to Raven. Number 4. What you got?
Number 4, Menace to Society. Yeah, the Spice One, MC8, but then that alone. But then you had like. I think DJ Quick, Brand Nubian, Boogie Net Productions was on there. A lot of people. UGK was on there.
Yep. DJ Quick with the Everlast diss song.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah. Booty, let me tag it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's dissing Everlast, and I don't remember why he did. I knew at one point in time, but I don't remember anymore why he was taking shots at House of Pain. But yeah, classic soundtrack, classic movie. It's in my top three. It has to make everyone's list. Talking about top three, this is another one similar to Original Gangsters. The movie wasn't all that good, but I had this at number one for days and days and days, and it got bumped down to three. But if you ask me again another day, it could go back up to one or two. Movie, terrible. Soundtrack, amazing. 1997, Dangerous Ground. Y'all remember this soundtrack?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Ice Cube, The World Is Mine. He kills it. He's got the bud, just like those frogs. Sally Sell, The Only Way. Keith Murray does the title track, Dangerous Ground. Probably my favorite mystical song, Mr. Shit Talker. Be Legit, Sketo Smile. KRS One, Perhaps She'll Die. Classic KRS storytelling. And I'll spoil it. If we ever do a Spice One list, this will be number one. It's on one of his albums too. But Two Hands and a Razor Blade by Spice One, such a perfect picture he paints about, being in the LA County Jail. That's my favorite Spice One song of all time. The movie was kind of weak. It's like Ice Cube's in Johannesburg, South Africa. I don't remember the plot really, except that. But the soundtrack was fucking loaded. But Dangerous Ground, number three. What you got, Surreal, at number three?
Who's the man? Ed Lover and Dre. We got House of Pain, Naughty by Nature. We got Party and Bullshit, Biggie.
Yep.
I mean, the movie's got Bushwick in it. I mean, the movie, I just bought it on DVD a few months back again, and I had it on VHS. The movie, the soundtrack, everything, that's classic to me. It just brings so many memories back.
Yeah, the House of Pain song is dope. Who's the man?
Yeah.
That's a top 10
is.
House of Pain song.
Yeah.
That is a good soundtrack. Those are my honorable mentions. And the movie was good too. I mean, another forgotten gem is, remember when Dr. Dre and Ed Lover did their own album,
Yeah.
Back Up Off Me?
Mhm.
There was some really dope songs on that and a lot of dope features. All right, number three, what you got, Riplak?
I have Tales from the Hood. So we've already talked about it, but ODB, MC8.
Right, MC8.
Spice One, obviously. I'm not a big Wu-Tang guy, but what's funny is I'm not talking crap about him. By any that wasn't my
Those
style.
are fighting words.
But
I'm about cracking knuckles.
Grave Diggers is on there though. And when I started writing my actual own music, that's who I listened to the most and inspired me, was their one actual like really good album.
All right, Raven, number three.
I went with How High. I'm a huge Wu-Tang fan, so Method Man is on damn near every song, not to mention Redman. And then we had like Street Life, DMX, Limp Bizkit, Ludacris, and Shauna. Like there's a lot of slappers on that soundtrack.
You can't go wrong with Method Man, Redman, any of them. I didn't make my honorable mentions, but it was in my brain swirling around. Which brings us to number two. It was brought up by, I think, everyone by now. Menace to Society. Do I have anything on here that no one else said? The Pete Rock and CL Smooth song, Death Becomes You, I thought was hard as hell.
Yeah.
Hard as hell. Too Short, Only the Strong Survive. I love that On the Real, Too Short, The Ghetto, It's Your Life, songs like that. I think Short really shines. He's always known for his, bitch songs and sex songs, but Trigger Got No Heart, Aunt Banks, Packing a Gun, The Quick, Lynch Mob. I think everything else was said. Menace to Society. Surreal, number two.
Judgment Night.
Oh, that was on my
De La
honorable
Soul,
mention.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Cypress Hill, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Onyx with Biohazard. I mean, the collaboration, just
That Onyx
the
song.
metal alternative hip hop mix. Every song's a banger. Booyah Tribe. I mean, I don't think there's any skips on it.
It was on my honorable mentions, and it was so groundbreaking because it's 93, I believe, that came out. And with the exception of like Run DMC and Aerosmith, Anthrax and Public Enemy, a few people that did it, Body Count was already out, but there wasn't a lot of marriage of that hip hop and rock. And to have every song, That Booyah Tribe song,
Yeah.
hard. The Onyx song, hard.
Then Ice-T's with Slayer on it.
Ice-T's with Slayer.
Yeah. Yeah,
The House of Pain one is dope.
Yeah, with the helmet. Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah,
that
the whole thing is super dope. And the movie wasn't really that bad.
yeah, Everlast was in it. I'm glad it got love. It was on my honorable mentions because it deserved, if nothing else, for the groundbreaking. But that Booyah and Onyx. Oh, Run DMC was on there too.
Yeah.
De La Soul was on there. Damn, they should have made my list. Fuck. I gotta do this list though. All right, Riplak. Yeah, next week. Riplak number 2.
Well, it was mentioned by you earlier, briefly, gang related. Again, I know it was a double disc, I
And
think.
early Tech Nine's on there.
And yeah, and also, besides like Corrupt, Outlaws, Tech Nine, Ice Cube, because that Greed on there too. And The Life's So Hard by Tupac, and then there's kind of had Daz Everywhere. And then they had that song, OFTB, Keep Your Eyes Open. I thought that was a really cool song.
Raven, number 2.
Number 2, I got The Show, which you had already covered. We had, Onyx, Slick Rick, Method and Red, Bone Thugs, Domino, SEC, J.O. Phony. Of course, fucking LL Cool J was on there. I'm a mark for him.
Right.
But the SEC song is my favorite South Central Cartel song, like, of all time. So, and just fucking LV kills that shit as always. So.
Yes, SCC makes some of the dopest posse tracks. We've talked about it multiple times, which brings us to number 1. I had a hidden Easter egg in the back that shows the number 1 Trespass soundtrack. And this made number 1 because, unless you don't count the last song, which is a score of the movie, every song is hip hop, but there's no skips to me on this. Ice-T and Cube, Trespass, Kill It. AMG, Don't Be a 304.
Oh yeah.
And it took me about 6 months, but when I figured out that was, you turn it upside down on a calculator, it says, oh, that's what 304 meant. I talked about Dub C and Mad Circle, Quick Way Out. Penthouse Players Click, I'm a player, bitch. Mix-a-Lot, Check My Bank. Lord Finesse Kills, you know what I'm about. Public Enemy, Gotta Do What I Gotta Do, which I think was on Greatest Misses as well. But Trespass is a non-skip. Surreal, what made the top of your list?
Number 1 on my list, number 1 soundtrack, CB4, MC Gusto, Sweat From My Balls. My favorite song is MC Ren, Mayday on the Front Line. And I feel like we just have a collective MC Ren fan club going.
Right?
And,
basically.
I love Ren.
Even some of the other guys that have been on other B-Boy
Yeah.
podcasts. I mean, everybody likes MC Ren. That's like common thread. But anyway, the Mayday on the Front Line version on CB4 is a remix of the one that's actually on Shock of the Hour. They're different. It's a different drum loop and a different sample. They're both like super sick. DJ Hurricane and Beastie Boys, Stick 'Em
Right.
Up with
That's
Ad
a
Rock.
dope song.
Of course, the they had the comedy songs on there too, and then they had the Rappers Delight thing.
Right.
I
think
who was the voices? Was it High C? Speaking of
High C, High C was Gusto.
Kumo D, and I
don't remember who was Dead Mike, but I know High C was Chris Rock's character.
For the Baghead.
Right, for the Baghead. I gotta watch CB4 again. That shit is classic.
Oh man,
such a good movie.
Yeah, Boogie Down, Foosnick, and the
Public Enemy's on there, I think.
Yeah. The movie is hilarious. The soundtrack's dope.
Classic. I'm glad CB4 got some love. It was on my honorable mentions. Riplak, what's number 1 in your end list?
So a lot of people make fun of me for loving this movie, but I fucking loved it. And I watched it over and over, and it came with the soundtrack, and it was The Wash. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen, of course.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, what? Let's see. They had the Holla with Busta Rhymes, which was awesome.
Oh, yeah. That's a great
Bubba Talk. The Wash. I mean, they had The Wash and On the Boulevard, Bad Intentions, all Dre songs. The 2 of those are Snoop and Dre songs. Like, nobody even knows those songs, though. And I think...
Yeah, it was almost kind of like you could mix it with Above the Rim soundtrack. It kind of had the same vibe.
Yeah,
I mean, I just...
In a good way. I mean, that's a
right,
good thing.
right.
Like, that was put together by Dre, like, you know, I don't know. I loved it though. They got back together and they did this movie, and there's all these people like Pauly Shore, Shaq, like everybody was on this movie. Exhibit it was Cheech, I believe. Yeah, it was Cheech. There's a lot of people just popping up. Ludacris, it was everybody.
No, that deserves some love.
DJ Pooh was amazing in that movie. I love DJ Pooh.
I gotta go back and watch CB4 and The Wash now.
Yeah.
All right, Raven, end it. What is your number one hip hop soundtrack
of all time? Tales from the Hood. Ooh. And I think that's the best, most well put together soundtrack. Wu-Tang was on it. You had Scarface and the Face Mob, Domino, ODB had a track. Of course, the Havoc and Prodigy song. I fucking love Having Prod, just because of SEC. MCI, like you said, the Gravediggers, the Click is a really, I think the Click's a really underrated group. I love Be Legit. I love Sugar T. I love E40. Yeah.
Hot Ones that Go Through the Ghettos on there, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's my number one soundtrack of all time. There was some really good ones y'all mentioned that ended up in my honorable mentions, and I fought myself with Friday and shit like that. Right. But Tales from the Hood.
Speaking of honorable mentions, like I always do, if someone didn't bring it up, I'll just give a little bit of love to it. I don't know if y'all remember this soundtrack or the movie Zebrahead.
Yeah, Nas is on it.
Nas Halftime.
The Goats.
Yeah.
Dig. Yeah.
I think AMG's on it. I remember really liking that soundtrack. Another hidden gem to me was the Bulworth soundtrack.
That one was on my list.
The movie isn't very good and it would never be made today. But it had some dope songs on it. New Jack City had to be mentioned just for New Jack Hustler. And my last honorable mention, just because this movie might have went straight to video. It definitely wasn't worldwide theaters, but the soundtrack for The Fear. So this is 1994, and you got Esham, ICP, Gravediggers, Flatliners, all these horrorcore artists.
Is Necro on that? Like an early Necro song?
He might be. It's all these horrorcore artists, and this is 94, and they have a whole soundtrack with people like, there's a Nodis song, all these horrorcore artists. I thought should at least get mentioned. And the Esham does the title track, and it's a top
like
20.
Morty's
theme, yeah. It's like some wooden doll that comes to life and kills people or something. But I wanted to show The Fear some love.
What's the Master P movie? So I said Mac 10 earlier in Dangerous Grounds, but Mac 10 was on the soundtrack for one of the No Limit movies.
Probably on Bout It or
that's what I got confused. So I'm gonna give that About It an honorable mention, and then Crooklyn, Spike Lee, the Crooklyn Dodgers. I give that an honorable
good
mention.
one. That's a good one.
That is a good one. That one slipped my mind. What was on your honorable mentions, Raven?
The only thing we didn't really cover, I think, was Dangerous Minds. It was like half rap, half not.
Oh yeah, Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise.
Yeah, Rap Forte was on like 2 songs in the soundtrack, I think. So, and I think you
Big
covered
Mike.
most of the other shit. Yeah, Big Mike was on there.
Yep.
You covered Above the Rim and all that. Yeah, so kind of standard. You said Bulworth. That was a big one that was on my list for a minute. And Set It Off. Set It Off,
yeah.
Because the Bone Thugs and Harmony's Everyday Thing alone made that soundtrack huge for me that summer.
Panther soundtrack.
Yes, The Point.
That the other day.
Yep.
Right.
With Big Mike and Bone Thugs were on that coincidentally.
Right.
What was the movie about New Jersey where they stole cars?
New Jersey
New Jack
Drive.
City.
Yeah,
New Jersey
New
Drive.
Jersey Drive. And they had
I
two.
forgot about that one.
Volume 1 and Volume 2 was all East Coast artists. Yeah, those were dope soundtracks too. So many good ones. You could sit here all day and list them. But another roundtable is done. All right. I'm going to for sure sign off now. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Another good roundtable. Peace, everyone.
All right, thank you.
See ya.
Have a good one, guys. Good doing this again.
Yep.
Good job, guys.
B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide.